Joining me now is Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. Justin Fairfax, great to have you with us, sir.
Thanks so much, John. God bless you. Happy to be back on with you.
Thank you, sir. Always appreciate you coming on and your honesty. I'm going to start with Super Tuesday, then get to your piece yesterday in the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and other media centers picked it up. But I want to get to Super Tuesday today. Can you tell us who you are voting for or voted for today for the Democratic presidential nomination, Lieutenant Governor Fairfax?
Yeah, John. Well, I'll tell you, even in spite of the piece that you saw yesterday, I actually just voted this morning for Vice President Joe Biden. And, the considered decision, obviously looking at, his body of work and his support of President Obama as Vice President. And, I think that he is the strongest candidate to help to lead this country and to heal and repair so many of the wounds that we've seen, develop over the course of this administration. And so I voted this morning for Joe Biden and would certainly encourage others to do the same.
I couldn't get a straight answer out of Morrissey. He wouldn't tell me who he voted for, so I appreciate that. Okay, now, yesterday you took the candidates out. Game on. You basically said that Terry McAuliffe, former Governor McAuliffe, was involved in a conspiracy in order to, along with LeVar Stoney, to get you out of the potential governor's mansion, to get you out of the lieutenant governor's seat. So, if you will, they tried to perform what you might call a coup to get you out because they were afraid you were going to be governor, be there for a 7-year period. You said they planted the sexual assault allegations. You also called McAuliffe a racist and LeVar Stoney the same. Gloves off. Can you elaborate?
I can absolutely elaborate, Joe. These are facts, and we need to start dealing in facts and evidence. And we have laid out the facts, including, as you've seen, John, and the lawsuit that we filed that we are now appealing the judge's ruling. But even in that ruling, the judge made it very clear that we had filed this to clear my name, that we put forward evidence that these allegations were false, fabricated, and politically motivated. And, of course, had ties both to LeVar Stoney and Terry McAuliffe. These are facts, John. Let's review the facts.
Okay.
First, the first accuser, Dr. Vanessa Tyson, went to school with Thad Williamson, who was LeVar Stoney's top aide. The weekend that Governor Northam had the issue arise, there was speculation that I might become governor, Thad Williamson's wife, Adria Sharps, begins texting with Vanessa Tyson. We have the actual text messages where she says, "It looks like Ralph Northam may be forced to resign tomorrow. We, Thad and I, being Thad Williamson, believe your story needs to get out to the press today," in all caps. Well, John, what does that tell you? That is a weaponization, and then they will say, well, we weren't involved, and this is not political. That's absolutely political. It's proof positive. It's the smoking gun that they were doing this, and they timed it specifically to try to stop me from becoming governor. I mean, these are facts, John. And I think people of goodwill who are looking at these facts know that means Terry McAuliffe and LeVar Stoney were involved. We, in fact, got warned in the fall of 2018 by someone who came to us and said that whenever you announce for governor, LeVar Stoney, Thad Williamson, and Adria Sharp are going to push this uncorroborated allegation involving Vanessa Tyson, and they're going to do it to try to torpedo you. So, John, if we had that much of a heads up, and then the weekend that Governor Northam has the issue arise, and it happens exactly as was told to us, what does that tell you? And you notice LeVar Stoney gives these broad, very weak denials. He never says, did he know Vanessa Tyson before these allegations arose? Did he know that Thad Williamson and Vanessa Tyson went to school together 15 years ago? And she never said anything about any of these allegations because they were recently fabricated. And they were fabricated in order to do political damage. She, by the way, is now running for office in California after having come out and said she had no political motive and didn't want to be involved in politics. I mean, John, this is really outrageous. And I didn't hear your segment earlier, but I do thank Senator Morrissey for, again, laying out the facts. And people hate the facts because they're not on their side. With regard to the second accuser, who also has ties to Terry McAuliffe, this accuser, we have already debunked her story publicly. When she did an interview and said that, the things that happened and that it was the two of us, and when we then, after that interview, put out the facts that there was an eyewitness present who says that she fabricated the story. Right. You know what her lawyer, Nancy Erica Smith, then said? What? We don't want to comment on whether or not there was an eyewitness, and we don't want to comment any further. Well, John, you can't go out for 8 months, make these salacious allegations, And then when the evidence comes out that they're false, say, oh, we don't want to comment any longer. So, John, when these, and by the way, Terry McAuliffe, within minutes of that allegation coming out, goes on Twitter and says, I demand Justin Fairfax's immediate resignation. Well, he had no facts, no evidence, and now that we've shown that these stories are false, he has never said, we want an investigation, we want to explore whether or not that's true. They just wanted to get me out of office. And regular Virginians are tired of this kind of despicable politics. They have had enough of it. And we've stood up for the truth, and that's why over a year later, they've all gone radio silent, and we're still standing in the truth. And Virginians have had our back. So they are tired of this kind of politics, John, to stoop to the level of weaponizing these false allegations. And you notice the people, call for an impeachment hearing based on no evidence, nothing, won't even call for an investigation. I've done that for over a year. We've contacted the prosecutors, the police. I've taken 2 lie detector tests, including from the same person that Deborah Katz hired for Christine Blasey Ford. Deborah Katz is also a lawyer for Dr. Vanessa Tyson. We took 2 lie detector tests from that same person, passed them both, released them to the public. And you know what Deborah Katz had to say about those lie detector test results?
What?
Nothing.
Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, let me ask you this. You went to the police in Massachusetts, right? You contacted them. Your office contacted them. You contacted them personally. And you said, are we going to have an investigation or not? Are we going to have a charge or not? Have at it. Is that not accurate?
John, it is accurate. And we went both to the prosecutor, but the prosecutor in Massachusetts and in Durham, North Carolina. We contacted 2 prosecutors. And both of them, we begged them for an investigation because, John, if they investigate this, they will prove that it is false.
Right.
And we laid out the fabrications and the falsehoods. I mean, they are replete in our pleading. And so, John, and I'll give you just a couple of examples. I gave you the most glaring example.
Go ahead.
And you notice, again, the accuser from Duke, who also accused a Duke basketball player, by the way, of rape a year before, and has offered no evidence to support that. He's denied it vehemently. And she says that she went to a dean at Duke University to report that rape. Well, when people ask, well, who was the dean? They said, well, we don't want to comment. I mean, John, when you keep getting caught in lies and then you say, I don't want to comment, right, those can't stand. So again, in our case, there was an eyewitness present who says that she lied and fabricated this story. He has told multiple people. It was in his room, by the way, John. I didn't live in the dorm that year. We've asked Smith and her client, which room did this happen in? You said it happened in this particular dorm. Which room did it happen in? And you know what they said? Oh, we don't want to comment. We want a hearing before the Virginia General Assembly. Why do you need a hearing before the Virginia General Assembly to say what room this happened in? It's because you're caught in a massive lie. And so now people need to ask questions and ask about the truth. With regard, I already told you about the first accuser, Dr. Tyson, her connection to LeVar Stoney and Thad Williamson. In her statement prepared with her lawyers, she goes into great detail and says, I met Mr. Fairfax on July 26, 2004. It was the first day of the Democratic National Convention. We hit it off. We had conversation. We had a friend in common. John, the only problem with her assertion that she met me July 26, 2004, and it was the first day of the convention, and we hit it off, the only problem, I wasn't even in Boston on that day. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina with then Senator John Edwards. We were traveling together, and we didn't get to Boston until midday on the next day. So as soon as these assertions were examined, they all fall apart.
So she got the date wrong right out of the bat, because she could say she had the date wrong of Monday or Tuesday, but the fact of the matter is she got the date wrong. Tell me about the Facebook post that came out on Sunday night, and then I want to get to the potential motivation behind this fact that you could have been a governor for a 7-year period. I think that would have thrown a monkey wrench into some of the other people's plans. But can you talk about the Facebook post that came out, one to the other, saying, hey, we got to get moving on the Fairfax thing. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yes, John. Again, they're literally communications that are date and time stamped. The photo of Governor Northam came out February the 1st, that Friday. There are text messages between Adria Sharp, the wife of Thad Williamson, former top aide to LeVar Stoney, and Vanessa Tyson on that Saturday and Sunday, where they're saying, I sent this, your message out to a large group of progressives in Richmond, and it looks like Governor Northam may be forced to resign tomorrow. Thad and I think your story has to get to the press today. John, this was a weaponization, right, of a false allegation. They were timing this specifically to try to stop these governor, and people see right through it. They also had a communication on the encrypted app Signal between them, and the title of that communication was Monday Action, between Adria Sharp and Vanessa Tyson. Monday Action. And so, John, what happens after that weekend when there's all this turmoil and speculation I might become governor? I come back to Richmond on Monday to preside over the Senate. I'm greeted by 100 reporters and cameras everywhere on Monday. And they're asking me, Lieutenant Governor, we're hearing an allegation of sexual assault by Vanessa Tyson. They had plotted and planned this the entire time. And again, I got warned about this the fall of the prior year. So if LeVar Stoney and Thad Williamson and Adrian Sharp knew about this and thought it was true, why would they not have come out as soon as they heard about it? They sat on it. They kept it in their back pocket because the whole point was to weaponize the false allegation and try to stop me. And people hate this kind of despicable politics.
Well, you were in a competitive race for lieutenant governor. I think there was a three-way primary, if I recall. Susan Platt, Gene Rossi, I think maybe someone else I don't remember. But you were in a competitive primary. If these allegations were out there, why didn't they come out when the first time you ran for Attorney General against Mark Herring? Then you ran for lieutenant governor. Why didn't in 2017? Why wouldn't have these come out then? Why did they wait until the verge of you potentially becoming governor? Why wait?
Because they were false, John, and they were politically motivated. They wanted to stop me from assuming the governorship. That's what this was all about. And again, also with Dr. Tyson, she went to the Washington Post back in 2017, shortly before the election, and with this allegation, this false allegation. They investigated John for 3 months, called around, investigated. I even met with them. I went and talked with them, and I laid out everything I knew, all the facts.
This was during the campaign. This was during the 2017 campaign. The allegations came to the Washington Post. They did an analysis, like any good media outlet should do, before they printed a story they don't want to get sued, obviously. And did the Washington Post, or did they not, during your 2017 campaign, decide there was not enough evidence to run this story? True or false?
Well, John, they did not run the story. They said there was not enough evidence.
Right.
There was no evidence. It was uncorroborated. And
so
John,
they didn't run the story.
They did not run the story. They actually made that decision in March of 2018. So apparently they were approached sometime in the fall of 2017. We believe it may even have been after the election, so after I won. Was there. They then investigated it for months. They called us in January of 2018. It was the first time I'd ever heard about this, a week before my inauguration. And we're, being told that there's an allegation. And I said, we will lay out all the facts because we know this is false. They investigated it for 3 months, made the decision in March of 2018 not to publish it because it was uncorroborated. And even when they ran the story in 2019 after Stoney and Thad Williamson and Adrian Sharp threw this uncorroborated false allegation out there, the Washington Post printed in the story that it was uncorroborated. Josh, how many people have been smeared in that way with an uncorroborated allegation, right, and just thrown out there? And then Dr. Tyson said she was going to go to the authorities in Boston when we begged the authorities to investigate. They said in February of 2018 she was going to go talk to the prosecutor. John, we don't know if that's ever happened. It's been a year later.
Right.
This was a smear, John. This was not meant to have a truthful accounting or an investigation, and people are running from an investigation. Every time we say an investigation, they say, well, we want a hearing. Well, a hearing is not an investigation. And interestingly, Meredith Watson's attorney, Nancy Erica Smith, who was commenting on prior cases, including the Brett Kavanaugh case,
right.
In that case, she's on tape and on record saying, we want an investigation. Why don't they want an investigation? Right? We want everybody to look into this. And then in our case, we want no investigation. And she sent a letter essentially threatening me, this is back in February, wanted me to resign in 2 hours or else they were going to go public with that allegation. And, John, it's outrageous conduct. And furthermore, again, now that her client's story has been totally debunked, now that we said that there was an eyewitness, it was that person's room, and that person said that she fabricated the story, they went radio silent. They said that we don't want to comment. John, why would you not comment on whether or not there was an eyewitness there? Wouldn't the first thing you say be, oh, no, that's not true. He's making that up, right? Why would you say no comment? You're saying no comment because you're caught in a lie, and because what I have said from day one is true. And so, folks who are engaging in this kind of politics, to weaponize these things, try to take someone down, Virginians are rejecting that. They are so tired, so sick of that kind of politics. And so, again, no due process whatsoever. What if someone else was accused? What if Terry McAuliffe was accused? What if LeVar Stoney was accused? Would they
why don't we get to McAuliffe a minute? We're with Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, Virginia Democrat Lieutenant Governor. So let's get to McAuliffe. I mean, you've involved Terry in this. What was in your view, what was Governor McAuliffe's motivation for getting behind you refer to as a hoax?
And a hit job. Well, didn't you just tell me Terry McAuliffe wants to now run for governor in Virginia in 2021 again?
Yes.
Do you think that's a coincidence? Right? I mean, he calls for my immediate resignation with no evidence, no due process, no facts, and now that they've been debunked, right, is standing there looking at these false allegations and wants to now run for governor. When he and LeVar Stoney try to stop me from becoming governor. Again, it's so obvious, John.
So what you're saying is if you ascended to the governor's position, if Governor Northam resigned, which a lot of people thought he would, I did, and you ascended into the governorship, you would be the incumbent. You would be up then in 2021 for a legitimate term, for a first elected term, and then you would have been governor for a 7-year period. And then they wouldn't have, not either Stoney or McAuliffe would have been able to ascend to the governorship in 2021. Is that basically how you see this having played out?
Those are the facts, John. Those
Right.
are the facts. And furthermore, John, again, we have the actual text messages. LeVar Stoney says he wasn't aware of those messages at the time, which is doubtful in my view. But ask him this question, John. Whether you're aware of it then or not, you're aware of it now. Do you condone what Thad Williamson and Adria Sharp did? Do you condone them saying we need to get Ralph Northam maybe forced to resign tomorrow? Thad and I think your story needs to get out to the local press today.
Right.
With an uncorroborated allegation that the Washington Post had investigated for months and decided not to publish the story. Right? Do you condone your top aide and his wife throwing these allegations out because Ralph Northam might be forced to resign? Ask him that question. He won't answer these questions, John. We need folks who are truthful, with integrity, and they're really tired of this kind of politics. Because here's the thing, John. If they can come at me with false allegations and in order to play politics because Terry McAuliffe wants to be governor again or LeVar Stoney wants to be governor, who can't they come after? If that succeeds, who can't they come after? Again, with no due process. And John, we have so many examples, of people who have been falsely accused. Right. And again, remember with Meredith Watson at Duke, she's accused the Duke basketball player of rape the year before. So she's alleging 2 rapes in a span of a year and wants neither one of them investigated and has no evidence for either. And in our case, again, we have already for a long time put forward evidence. There was an eyewitness who said she lied, and now she and her lawyers say they don't want to talk about it anymore. John, this is obvious, okay? And so Virginians reject this kind of politics. They're tired of it. They're tired of people trying to tear people and communities down. We have had so many examples, John, again, of folks falsely accused. You look at the UVA Rolling Stone case. You look at the Duke lacrosse case. You look at Brian Banks, the Exonerated 5, listed on and on and on.
The concern that average people have listening to you right now, let me just tell you, is that it could happen to anybody, right? And not everybody has the resources available to them to defend themselves. Not everybody is a lawyer and understands this stuff, so it can be pretty scary for people. Okay, yesterday you called Terry McAuliffe and LeVar Stoney, former Governor McAuliffe, Mayor Stoney, Richmond, you called them racists. How do you get from where we are now to calling them racist?
John, they used one of the historically most racist tropes in the book. This is as old as the nation, going back 400 years, to falsely accuse African American of rape with no evidence. And not wanting even an investigation. No one asked the question, John, are these allegations true? We're a year later, and no one asked a simple question, are these allegations true? And I have done everything I can to try to get to the truth. We have contacted the prosecutors, begged them for an investigation. I've taken lie detector tests voluntarily, passed them, released them to the public. I've sued CBS to make sure we get everybody under oath, right? And by the way, no one is defending the truth of Meredith Watson's story, at least at this point, right? Not her lawyer, not her, and not CBS. Your first defense to a defamation claim would be that the story's true. That defense was never made because they know it's not true. And so, John, what I'm saying is that, again, have you know the name Emmett Till?
Yes.
Okay, and you know that story.
Yes.
Right? Falsely accused, and of course, in his case, ended tragically and helped spark, in part, the civil rights movement because people said, we have got to stop this thing where you point a finger at someone. And again, this goes back to the beginning of our country, John. And we just commemorated 400 years last year, right, of the General Assembly meeting in 1619. And also 400 years, John, of first enslaved Africans being forced to land at Hampton Point Comfort. And those have been the dual strands of darkness and light that have run through the conventionally. Throw out these kinds of allegations, not want any investigation. right? And then when evidence comes out that they are false, to stand there and not want to talk about it, and instead to say, well, we're going to try to become governor, and we might have blocked this guy, but we're going to try to become governor. I mean, Virginians are watching that, and they reject it. They reject it, John. So to do this, to trade on, again, what historically the most racist trope in American history, falsely accuse an African-American man of this kind of crime, and then, again, when it comes out that it's not true, then to go radio silent, or to continue down the political path and say, we want a hearing, and we want to run for governor. I mean,
there's no question when you lay the facts out, as we had Joe Morrissey on a few moments ago, noted lawyer prosecutor, it becomes pretty suspect. I've only got about a couple more minutes. I did say that I would open this up to a few questions. I've got one caller, Greg in Richmond. Greg, you're with the Lieutenant Governor. You have a question. Go ahead, Greg.
Yes, sir. Just Fairfax. First of all, I want to say I appreciate you coming on John Fredericks show. I think you've been railroaded, and I really do feel for you. But my question is, during the Blasey Ford Kavanaugh hearing, I was under the understanding that you wanted us to believe Blasey Ford and basically go after Kavanaugh. My question to you is, why is it that we should treat you differently than the way you treated the Kavanaugh situation?
I appreciate your call. Can you stay on the line, please? What gave you that impression? Did you ever hear me say that?
Yeah, that you were in line with the Democratic Party and supporting.
What are you basing that on?
The fact that you were in line with the Democratic Party during that situation.
I think what the Lieutenant Governor is asking you, Greg, is do you have any direct evidence that that Justin Fairfax specifically was involved in that or said anything? And I got to tell you, we went back to try to find that evidence in an early interview and couldn't find any. So I'm not sure.
Okay, well then maybe okay. So maybe I'm hearing hearsay, and I don't have direct evidence on that, and I apologize for that. I just want to say, Mr. Fairfax, I do support you, and I think that you are railroad, and I think the Democrats have put themselves in a box where they can't come out and support you in this situation because of the Kavanaugh situation. It makes them look two-faced. So now they got to keep riding this bus, and you're just keep on getting kicked to the curb. So I apologize for that, and I hope that.
I'm gonna tell you what. I appreciate your call and your sentiments and your apology. Let me say this. I actually, so you won't find that evidence, John. But here's the thing. I actually did not support Justice Kavanaugh's nomination, but it was because I disagree with his jurisprudence, and frankly, I think there should have been an investigation. Mm-hmm. And interestingly, to get to the truth and to get to the facts. Interestingly, again, in this situation, the same lawyer for Meredith Watts and Nancy Smith was calling for an investigation with Brett Kavanaugh, and in our situation, wanted no investigation and still wants no investigation and wanted me to resign in 2 hours with no facts and no evidence and no investigation. So what I'm saying is, you talk about hypocrisy, right? You're begging for an investigation in the Kavanaugh situation, and you want none for Justin Fairfax. People see that double standard, and they see the treatment, and they see the lack of due process. So again, I'm always going to be a straight shooter with you. I oppose this nomination because of jurisprudence, but again, and you mentioned earlier, our caller, that may be based out on hearsay or I'm just hearing things. And I appreciate your apology. We have to deal in facts. Okay, we have to deal in facts and evidence and truth. And I was a federal prosecutor, U.S. Attorney's Office, Major Crimes Narcotics Unit, and my job was to do justice and to keep people safe and to deal in facts and evidence. It was not to have people hurling out false allegations, not investigating them, and then when evidence comes out that they're false, like with Meredith Watson, there was an eyewitness who says she fabricated the story, and now she doesn't want to talk about it, her lawyer doesn't want to talk about it. The same lawyer who wanted an investigation against Brett Kavanaugh wants no investigation here, and also wants no investigation of the other alleged rape that she alleges from Duke University with no evidence. So, John, we've got to deal in facts, and we frankly got to get away from this despicable politics. People love talking in generalities. They hate talking in facts because the facts are not on their side. So for anyone who wants to chime in, to talk about this, ask some very specific questions. Whose room did this happen in with Meredith Watson, and was there anyone else there? And why won't you comment on that? You won't comment because you're caught in a lie. So people want to talk in generalities. They want to talk in hashtags, and we've got to get away from that. And I believe we will. So we stood up for the truth. And, John, you said this earlier. people are frightened because they say, who couldn't this happen to?
Exactly. This is really the untold story of what is going on here, Lieutenant Governor Fairfax. Because, you look at the Kavanaugh hearings. I mean, he's a Supreme Court justice. People kind of get that. They're so far removed from that. But you look at what happened to you, and you look at as you lay the evidence out, and I talk to Morrissey, my friend, every day. You heard him earlier, the way he feels about this. And it's like, look, this could happen to anybody. It's just not right. And I think the fact in this thing should continue to come out. We're out of time for this segment. But when I have you back, I'd love you to be able to take phone calls for an hour, because you got the facts on your side. You don't have anything to hide.
I appreciate it. And we've proven again that these are false. They're politically motivated, that, again, connected to LeVar Stoney and Terry McAuliffe. People are tired of this kind of politics. It's really despicable. It has significant racial overtones, and people have had enough. And, again, once the evidence came out that these are false, ask Nancy Smith and Meredith Watson, why won't they say whose room it was in, and why won't they say whether or not there was an eyewitness there? Because they're caught in a massive lie. And why won't LeVar Stoney say whether or not he knew Vanessa Tyson before? Why won't he comment on whether or not he condones Thad Williamson's and Adrian Sharp's actions in pushing this out there, Monday action? Ask him those specific questions. He's going to equivocate, and he's going to talk in circles, right? Because these folks are not honest, and it's sad. But we're standing up for truth and for honesty, and that's why the people support us, John. They're spending all their time trying to tear down one Virginian. I'm spending all my time trying to build up 8.5 million. And that's the difference between me and them. And that's why I broke the ties to expand Medicaid, 400,000 people. That's why I broke the ties to eliminate trap laws. That's why I broke the ties to make us safer from gun violence. Because I'm spending my time building up 8.5 million Virginians. And they're spending all their time trying to personally destroy one. We're not going to let it happen. God is good, and the truth is on our side.
Well, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, we're going to have many of these conversations during your primary campaign with at least 3 candidates in it. While covering the Attorney General, yourself, and Terry McAuliffe definitely running for governor no matter what he says. No question about that. So we'll see how it plays out. But all I can say to our listeners, Justin, you've been coming on my show since I started on the radio in 2012, January. You've been coming on for a 9-year period. You've never lied to me once. You've never misled me on anything, not one time. And you've probably been on my show 100 times. And so all I can say is my experience with Justin Fairfax, the man in a 9-year period and 100 interviews, has never lied to me once. So,
and I never will, John, and I appreciate you. God bless you and your listeners. And look, let's stand up for truth and a better politics. Let's get away from this and ask these specific questions to LeVar Stoney and to Terry McAuliffe, because people are tired of this kind of despicable gutter politics. They've had enough, and we represent a new way forward, a way to rise above this. And again, stop talking in generalities, start talking in facts, and let's have an investigation. It will show that these are false, and we're moving forward to make sure that we're lifting up 8.5 million Virginians.
Justin Fairfax, thank you for being with us, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.